Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to share with you guys my list for the top 10 best world boss clearing characters. Now, before we start the list, I want to detail for you guys how I picked the characters that I picked and why you will see certain names off of the list. I did it as logically as I could, and so I'll detail for you guys what my thought process was for these top 10 world boss killers. Now, of course, because they're killing world bosses, this is mostly for players who are still building up their roster and still grinding out the black antimatter and the diversity stones and those materials that you need for Black Order characters to be leveled up and ranked up, etc. So because of that, I left out all of the Black Order characters. So none of the Black Order characters are on this list as potential characters to use to kill themselves. That would just be stupid and redundant and not helpful to the people that this video is for. Secondly, I wanted to leave out tier 2 characters, or characters that specifically get very good at tier 2 for world boss killing. And again, the reason is similar because in order to tier 2 a character, I know we have tickets, guys, but besides tickets, you have to do the traditional method of using black antimatter and diversity stones. And that's a very costly advancement for players that are still trying to build up a roster that can clear each world boss 5 out of 5 every single day. For that reason, I've tried to limit my list. The first 3 names on the list will be characters that require black antimatter and diversity stones or a kind of payment. They won't be very easily obtainable for free-to-play players or very new players, so to speak. But the rest of the list, the remaining 7, the Sinister 7, as the Spider-Man comics would say, those 7 are free-to-play friendly and, you know, new player friendly and grind friendly and all that good stuff. So let's get into the list, guys. Number 1, of course, Doctor Strange. If you ever have a question about anything, any list that I make, any top 10, any best of, worst of, most capes, least beards, most facial hair, whatever, the answer is Doctor Strange. The damage is insane, the skills are insane, everything is just insane. Best character in the game, hands down. As far as team ups go for Doctor Strange, you want to probably pair him with his most 2 suitable partners, the Ancient One and Baron Mordo. That will give you the most badges. Alternatively, with Mr. Strange, you can pair Wiccan and Thor, because that will give you 2 attacking badges, which is more than you get in any other situation, and it looks pretty cool because they got capes and cowls and they look, you know, all brooding and mysterious. As far as the skill rotation for Doctor Strange, the only thing you need to know is press the 5 button and then just press whatever the hell you want. All the other skills do insane damage. The most popular method, or the most popular rotation, is the 3-star skill into the 2-star skill for its full duration, and then just rinse and repeat that skill, and Thanos will die pretty damn fast. Number 2 on the list, my girl Sharon Rogers. Very awesome character, excellent skill set and bag of tricks, massive damage, overall an extremely strong character, and almost as simple to play as Doctor Strange. As far as team ups go for Sharon Rogers, the most commonly used team is Sharon Rogers plus her mom, Agent 13, and then Star-Lord for the leadership. Alternatively, you can use any blast or energy damage buff leadership in place of Star-Lord, but as long as you have Agent 13 as the other companion here, Sharon Rogers will do her most important skill, her 3-star skill, when you trigger the co-op button. As far as skill rotations go for Sharon Rogers, the only thing you need to remember to do is to press the 3-star skill first, and then you just go to town with her other skills, as long as you're not getting interrupted by the world boss. The 3-star skill will protect you from damage, and then the 5 and the 4 will do insane amounts of damage, and the 2 and the 1 will do less respectively, but still very good for Sharon Rogers, even at tier 1. Number 3 on the list, competing for my love at the moment, Enchantress. Now, if you guys did not see the live stream, I did some very silly, very insane things with Enchantress at tier 1. The entire premise of Enchantress revolves around the Maiden's Farewell skill, which just absolutely wrecks world bosses, and it doesn't take a genius to play her, which is why she lands at number 3 on this list. Even at tier 1 with minimal investment, she can be an absolute monster for you, and she can clear every single day of world boss. The only caveat there is that you need to use your initial player investment bio token of 1 day sub on her, or you have to pay about $10 or $11 or $9 in your native currency to get that monthly subscription to get her bios. As far as team-ups go for Enchantress, you basically just need to give her a DPS leadership. Of course, someone like Hela would be the best choice because it's giving her the most damage, a la Star-Lord, but it really doesn't matter. She also has a team-up with Hela, which is additional damage. But basically, any energy or blast buff leadership will cut it here, and then you can just go to town with Enchantress and see just how enchanting she can really be. As far as skill rotations go for Enchantress, all you need to remember to do is tap the 2-star skill first, then the 5, then any combination of the 4 or the 1 until you end with the 3 in order to get the shield, which would get debuffed by Thanos in this case, but it's not that big of a deal. Against other world bosses it won't, and you'll end off with the shield, which you can then chain back into the 2-star skill to continue your charming assault. And it just goes like this forever, guys, and it's just the most broken shit ever. And what have you done, Netmarble? This is too fucking easy. Now, the remaining 7 on this list, as I have said, will be farmable characters, so I will be showing you guys, in addition to talking about why they're so good, where to find their bios. Number 4 on the list, you may have been hoping to see him at number 1, but here she is, Loki. Loki was the poster child for Netmarble's future fight for a long time. He or she has been dethroned, but this hermaphrodite will rise again. I promise you, whenever the fuck they get their tier 2. Loki is amazing for the kit. The kit is fantastic. One of the best skill sets in the game, with the shield, with the clones. Everything is great aside from the leadership, to be honest. And the uniform is just icing on the cake. Where you can find Loki is going to be in Dimension Rifts, which are not so hot right now, but if you can manage to get someone in your alliance to open a nice rift, the Loki Chitauri invasion, I probably fucked that pronunciation up, don't hate me, internet, will be the place to get Loki, so you want to run those rifts as often as you can to rack up his bios. As far as team-ups go for Loki, the most accepted and most popular team-up is definitely the Ronin leadership, which gives Loki a massive boost in attack and defense, and then Red Skull. Red Skull will give you that very, very crucial all-attack skill cooldown buff from the badge team-up, which will make it easier to do damage, and it will make it faster for your skills to come down from cooldown so you can cast them again. As far as skill rotations go for the Prince of Mischief, what you want to do is start off with the clones, as long as you don't get punched in the face, and then immediately go into the 3-star skill, which is the shield, so that you can protect yourself from damage. And then if you want, you can just run along on your merry old way until those skills come off cooldown, and then just rinse and repeat. It's very much a Head and Shoulders like exercise. As long as you don't get debuffed, you're fine. So you'll be good for sure against every single world boss except Thanos, in which case you're going to have to employ a little bit more skill than I'm able to show you guys right now. Number 5 on the list, Hellstorm. Now, Hellstorm is on this list for 2 very important reasons. Even at tier 1, he is a fantastic character, excellent kit. He's got a fantastic Fire Burst 5 skill where he gives himself immunity for 5 seconds, which is fantastic for new players getting accustomed to the game and the speed and the damage and all the skills. And he's got a summon on his 4 skill, which will draw aggro for you and deal damage. You can find Hellstorm's bios in the Epic Quest under the Dark Dimension portal into the Increasing Darkness mini rift. And unfortunately, you can only go to this 10 times a day, so it's a little bit truncated to get his bios, but once you do, you will not be dissatisfied with this character. The team-ups for Hellstorm revolve around his fire synergy because all of his skills deal fire damage, so ideally you want to pair him with someone who has an increased fire damage leadership like Satana or Red Hulk. If you don't have one of those two, then you want to go with just a basic energy leadership like Captain Marvel or Black Bolt or someone like that. As far as the skill rotation goes for Hellstorm, you want to open with his 5 skill like Doctor Strange, and then just go to town. You can summon his clones with the 4, you can do damage from afar with the 3, you get an iframe with the 1, and you basically just wait until the 5 is off of cooldown again, so you can give yourselves 5 seconds of immunity, and then you just go back at it. If you pull away and you let the clones do the business, they will draw aggro for you, which will allow you some breathing room if you're really getting pummeled like I am right now. And you can always use the 1 to get out of some extra damage and danger with the long iframe on the jump. Number 6 on the list, Yellowjacket. Yellowjacket benefited hugely from his recent upgrade where he finally got a 6-star skill, the Laser Burst. It does fantastic DPS, it's a partial iframe, and it really pushes this character up to godlike tier 1 status. His tier 2 is excellent, but even at tier 1, he can out DPS so many other characters, it's nuts. Like Loki, you can find Yellowjacket's bios from the Dimension Rift. Now, unfortunately, it can be difficult to find a Dimension Rift, so you're gonna have to buddy up with people in your alliance. I know, human contact, gross, but do so for Yellowjacket and you will not be disappointed. Yellowjacket's team-ups are most commonly Team Pim, which is so badass because it combines 3 very fun, very cool characters who all have a rich, interlaced backstory. You probably want to go with either Giant Man's leadership for the HP if you suck at getting hit, or Ant-Man's for a little bit more all speed, which will give you a little bit more damage in the long run. However, if you're finding the damage is lacking, you probably want to drop Ant-Man in general for a blast leadership or an energy leadership to crank out Yellowjacket's damage even higher. As far as the skill rotation goes for Yellowjacket, you want to open with the 5 skill because it's the safest and it's going to deal the most damage. And then if you're in trouble, you go into the 2 because it's a long, solid iframe. If you have some breathing room from far away, you want to hit them with the 4. And then if you're feeling especially frisky, you can go into the 1, which is good damage but leaves Yellowjacket extremely vulnerable. Otherwise, you can just rotate very comfortably between the 5, the 4, the 4, and the 1 back into the 5, and that's the Macarena, guys. Number 7 on the list, a fan favorite who's dying to get her own movie, Captain Marvel. Yes, guys, I did put Captain Marvel on this list, and not in a joking way. With her most recent upgrade from the Asgard patch, Captain Marvel is a force to be reckoned with. Her binary explosion will give her a 5-second immunity to all damage, which is insane. The only reason why Captain Marvel is not higher on this list is because her other skills don't deal that much damage, and her bios are slower to collect than most other characters, and you cannot collect her bios with energy. Having said that, you can collect Captain Marvel's bios by going into the token shop and spending your tokens from Timeline Battle. I know you have to play Timeline Battle, which is kind of shitty, but you do get about 30 bios per week if you play all 10 times every single day, which is kind of slow, but you can also use selectors on Captain Marvel, and the great thing is her leadership synergizes with her, so you don't need an additional character to buttress her damage. One of the most classic team-ups for Captain Marvel is actually a pair of web slingers that you would not expect from the game. It is, not you, Spider-Man and Venom. This is a very, very old team, the Journalistic Integrity team, and it's got 2 badges, which is quite cute, and they're both quite good with all attack, crit rate, and max HP. There are other team-ups with like Black Bolt or Camilla Khan, but this one is iconic, classic to the game, and pretty damn cool if you ask me. As far as skill rotations go for Captain Marvel, you want to open with the 5-star skill, and then you want to immediately tap the 4 to get that immunity, and then just do all of your high damage skills until the 4 skill comes off of cooldown, and then just do it one more time and rinse and repeat. You do, however, need to have maximum skill cooldown, otherwise there will be a noticeable gap between your immunities, and that will punish you and you will take a lot of damage in the long run, which is not something that Captain Marvel is good at doing. However, if you have good enough skill cooldown, then you can basically be immune for the whole fight, and that's pretty damn OP from my perspective. Number 8 on the list, Iron Fist, the new Avengers, old Avengers, fucking Kung Fu Bruce Lee master. I don't give a lot of love to Iron Fist. I know I don't really like his skill rotation and his kit, but I have to give the guy props. He's very easy to farm now with the upgrade on the daily limits, and the Iron Fist skill does insane damage when used properly, so that's why he crops up on this list at number 8. Now, right now, he has 2 missions where you can get his bios for a total of 20 per day. That's pretty great, so you can farm those very, very quickly if you need to. As for the team-ups with Iron Fist, he's most popularly teamed up with both Warwolf and Daisy to maximize his damage in bursts, because that's exactly what Iron Fist is about. just surprise burst damage, and the added benefit from the Fear the Like and leadership from Warwolf will just make that accelerate even more when the enemy has low HP. However, if you're struggling with Iron Fist and getting hit a lot, you may want to employ a team like the Defenders in order to get that juicy Luke Cage leadership. I showed just how powerful that can be in the Black Dwarf free-to-play video, so you can check that out if you haven't already. Or you can go with an energy leadership to boost his damage up from someone like Captain Marvel, or ideally for the most damage, someone like Hela for that 45%er. The skill rotation for Iron Fist is pretty straightforward. You basically just buff up or do whatever kind of preparation you need, and then you switch to Iron Fist and you do his Force skill. The Force skill does pretty awesome damage if it's buffed properly, and it can be used very frequently because the cooldown is very short, so you can get in a lot of hits. Unfortunately, a lot of Iron Fist's other skills take way too long to trigger in terms of their overall animation, so they're not really valuable skills to rely on constantly. So you do need to gear your Iron Fist and play in a completely different way than you're used to, because you're really only relying on one skill to do the majority of your damage. As well, you guys see that invincibility proc from my uniform. Iron Fist is a character on this list that does require his uniform to be useful. Without it, he's pretty much a wet pancake. Number 9 on the list, the big man from New York, Fat Joe. Fat Joe is excellent because of the clone skill as the 5. These clones have tons of damage, they last long, high HP, and they take aggro away from Kingpin, which is fantastic. Kingpin's uniform is great because it changes the typing and it adds some long range attacks, but it's not actually necessary for killing world bosses, aside from maybe Black Dwarf, but that's debatable. Fortunately, Kingpin has 2 missions like Iron Fist where you can get his bios, so you can crank out a very juicy 20 bios per day, which is fantastic for building up Kingpin on your roster. As for team-ups with Kingpin, most notably, he is paired with someone like Groot as a support character because he takes a lot of hits. He's slow to react and slow to move, so you will be low on HP at times, and so you want to be able to switch over to Groot to drop a heal spore, switch back to Kingpin, and keep on rolling that sweet dough around on his juicy fupa body. As for the skill rotation with Kingpin, you want to make sure that you're not going to be debuffed, and then you want to summon the clones, and then you just want to let them do all of the work for you while you cower in the corner like the coward that you are. And then when you have an opportunity to strike, do so from afar with some caution. Then when the summons disappear, summon them again and repeat. The summons do all of the work for you, and you should not really engage unless you're doing Shadowlands one-on-one, because you do get punished very easily because Kingpin is slow and has, you know, basically 0 iframes. The side roll on his Force skill can kind of be used, but it's very situational and high difficulty to pull off, so I do not recommend relying on that. Last but not least, number 10 on the list, my main man, Thor, the cloaked one, Little Red Riding Hood, the guy with the cool looking hammer that's got the scripture on it. Thor, like Captain Marvel, benefited hugely from the latest Asgard update. They changed his Thundering Maelstrom to give a guard for 8 hits. Unfortunately, it's only for 4 seconds, and it's got a cooldown of 13 seconds. So you're looking at about 6.5 seconds between casts. So you're looking at about 2.5 to 3 seconds of 0 immunity and 0 protection. However, Thor does fantastic damage, and you're gonna get a shitload of bios of his from the login event currently, and if you miss that, don't worry, you can still farm 30 bios per day, so you can build up your Thor in a flash. DC reference complete. Thor's team-ups are best centered around his lightning damage. All of his skills deal lightning as an elemental damage, so you want to ideally get Lincoln as the leadership for that very nice 60%. If you do not have Lincoln, then you just want to go with a standard energy damage leadership or a universal leadership like Ronin. However, you might be using that for Loki, so look into other setups possibly. The skill rotation for Thor is a little bit more dicey than other characters. You do want to open with the 5 skill, but unfortunately it can be debuffed. If you have the uniform on, you can attack with his Force skill from afar. However, keep in mind without the uniform, it's just a standard in-place AoE attack like his 5 skill is, so you will have to position yourself differently for that. I highly recommend the uniform in a video that I've covered previously, because it does change his skills around and it gives him a very much needed damage reduction mitigation on all incoming damage, so it's very, very good. But in general, Thor does fucking amazing damage, so it's not very difficult to kill the world boss quickly before he kills your Thor. Last but not least, guys, I wanted to give an honorable mention shout out to some characters that didn't make this list but were on the cusp of it for me. Black Widow for the story mission bio farming, which is easy, and the 5 skill that has a long iframe and gets buffed by lightning damage, which is easy to max out and crank up her damage. Songbird from the special missions, because you can farm her bios quite easily and you can rank her up quickly. She's got a guard and she does pretty decent damage for how easily she is to play. As well, from the special missions, White Tiger. Like a lot of the other characters on this list, with her amulet shield, she gives herself 5 seconds immunity to damage. It does have a longer cooldown, so it makes her more difficult to play, but she's able to turn out pretty respectable damage as well against most world bosses. However, she will struggle against Black Dwarf. Green Goblin for the 30 bios a day that you can farm for him, as well as the 2 long iframes on his 5 skill and his 3 skill that deal excellent poison damage, and for the fact that you can scale his poison damage very easily with the right obelisk. So that's the list, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are, who I missed, who I should have put higher on the list or lower on the list. I couldn't put everyone on this because it's a top 10, so try to remember the caveats and rules and conditions that I had for this list before you go raging off in the comments on how I missed Thanos or Proxima. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.